Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel One Step at a Time. My name is Corey McKinney. Look, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It'll help me out a great deal if you do that. A lot of you guys have been asking, hey, where's Liverpool at? You've covered all these other teams. You haven't talked about Liverpool yet. And something that I found interesting, I've been watching this channel called Football Made Simple. And a great channel, by the way. If you would, hop over there and subscribe to these guys if you haven't already. They do a fantastic job breaking down tactics, breaking down team success and things like that. And one thing that I saw, a video that jumped out to me, is how Jürgen Klopp transformed Liverpool. So this is Liverpool's Champions League 2018-2019. So this was a few years ago, but this talks about the tactics that Klopp used in order to make Liverpool the team that they were during that time. So I'm excited to learn about it. I'm also excited to learn about their success then and maybe how that'll shape the way that I view them as a team now. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple. In 2013-14, Liverpool came close to winning their first league title in 24 years under Brendan Rodgers.
Okay.
In the end, they came second, just 2 points behind the champions Manchester City. But still, the fans were energized and dreaming of bigger things. But at the end of the season, Luis Suarez was sold to Barcelona, and the incoming signings didn't do much to make up the difference.
That sucks.
The next season, Liverpool regressed and finished 6th, and halfway through the following season, Rodgers was sacked. And in came Jürgen Klopp, the man tasked with returning Liverpool back to their glory days. And now, at the end of his third full season, Liverpool find themselves having secured the highest number of points in their league history, as well as in the Champions League final again. Transformation complete, you might say. And in this video, we give you the complete guide of how Jürgen Klopp has taken Liverpool back to the brink of glory. When Jürgen Klopp came into Liverpool, he was considered as a good manager, probably top 10, but wasn't yet a superstar. He played for Mainz as a player before retiring and becoming their manager.
That's cool.
He had his ups and downs with the club, leading them to
I was going to pause it. I always find it interesting when former players who played professionally end up coaching, because I think that it makes for a greater connection with players, because they can actually like see what they have been going through and kind of level with them a little bit. Also in his case, he's been brought in with a very difficult task. Like, you have all this hype around the previous manager, and he led his team to greatness, to number 2 in the league. And it seemed like it was like this thing that was never going to end. And then the next season, they regressed down to 6th. And then they said halfway through the season following that, he gets canned. And so I can just imagine the complete 180 that has happened for the fan base. Like, they're like, yes, we're so good. We're so close to glory. We lose Suarez, who was a great player. And then now we just can't fill the gap. And now our team is tanking, blah, blah, blah. And then here comes a coach who, like this video said, isn't really in the elite status. He's a great coach, but he isn't like somebody that you expect to really turn a team around. It sounds like, or I guess it may have felt like for fans at that time, and you guys can let me know, that it feels like maybe you kicked one guy to the curb just to bring in another guy who was at the same level. It doesn't really feel like you're going to get any change. And so as a football fan, as somebody who has watched American football for a long time, I can tell you that in the professional leagues, it feels like that sometimes with a coach change. Like, it feels like nothing's really going to change under this new leadership, and sometimes it just doesn't. And so I'm interested to see how Klopp changed the game for Liverpool and brought them back to glory. Let's see.
promotion in 2004 before being relegated in 2007. He then became Dortmund manager and led them to 2 league titles in 2011 and 2012. But in 2015, Dortmund had a disaster season where, although they finished 7th, at one point they fought relegation. And he left the club and soon became the Liverpool manager. He was tipped to bring his gegenpressing style of football to the club. And yes, he has, but he has also...
Hey, I know what that is, gegenpressing. So I got to do a whole video on that because I do know what it is, but not as well as I would like to know what it is. So it's kind of cool to see that he has some history under his belt, though it's a little rough, right? It's not a very pretty history of managing clubs. He does have a fight and a good style, it seems, to even when he's facing relegation, to bring his team at least to midway up the table, if not towards the top. So let's keep going.
Also brought so much more. We'll now look at how he transformed the club season by season, look at the tactical changes, personnel changes, as well as the psychological changes. Starting in 2013-14, the year of Liverpool's recent peak under Rodgers. During this season, Rodgers usually played a 4-3-3, with the most used players being as displayed. Often during games, Sterling would withdraw, allowing Sturridge and Suarez to both play centrally.
Right.
Rodgers played a fluid attacking style that was led by a front three who led them to scoring over 100 goals. They lost out by 2 points to Man City in the end, but a major theme that would plague Liverpool for years developed. They conceded 50 goals in the season, which was the second worst in the top 8. This was the theme for a few years for Liverpool, of great attack and poor defence. Although he did tweak formation, the shape of his back four and midfield three was relatively stable, allowing a platform for the fluid forwards. But then in 2014-15, the team encountered problems in Rodgers' final full season. And in this season, we see many of the problems which Klopp would immediately try to rectify. In this season, Rodgers was unsure how to play to make up for the loss of Suarez. And as a result, he changed formation sporadically between the 3-4-3, the 4-2-3-1, the 4-3-3, and many more, which created uncertainty within the ranks of the squad. His personnel were also ill-suited to his most used formation, playing 4 players out of their preferred position. Having lost Suarez to Barcelona, their attempt to replace him resulted in 10 players bought for 117 million, failing to plug the gap. In this season, they only scored 51 goals while conceding 48 at the same time. Their possession stat...
Man, that's a hard loss. It's tough to spend that much money on players in hopes that, when you lose a world-class player like that, you know that you're not going to get exactly the same thing. Like maybe you will, but for the most part, like you're not going to get the exact same type of play out of these players. But you're at least hoping that they can do something, right? But what I'm seeing from his management style, like you said, he had 4 players playing out of their normal position. That's hard to do. It's hard. It's already hard to have one player out of position, but to have 4 total out of the 11 on the field, 10 if you don't count the goalie, because surely to God you're not playing the goalie outside of his position. So I don't know. It's like he didn't know what to do, and he was trying everything that he could to kind of make that gap fill. And if player wasn't going to do it, he was going to switch personnel around and make them, try to force something to work. I don't know. I kind of feel for the guy because he did lose a world-class player. At the same time, though, you're moving these people around a lot. Your defense was already not that great to begin with, and surely this does not make it any better. And as I'm seeing from the stats here, it didn't at all. It actually made it worse. And so, man, I feel for Liverpool fans, too, to watch this kind of begin to take place and begin to tinker down and fall into really what turned out to be something that wasn't that great of a follow-up to a year finishing number 2 on the table. So let's keep watching the video, though, and see what changes.
Were down from the previous season as well to 54%, as playing a midfield 2 loosened their grip on the matches. They suffered from their deficiencies in both defense and the goalkeeping area, as they conceded 10 more goals than the expected goals had them on target for. In 2015-16, Rodgers was sacked mid-season, with the club in 10th, and in came Klopp. Klopp had a good impact and took them to the Europa League final, where they lost out to Sevilla. But we won't look too much into the tactics of his first season, because he had only had half a season to implement his changes. But in the transfer window, Klopp already began to make changes to his squad to mold it to how he wanted to. He got rid of 5 first-team players in Ibe, Allen, Benteke and Luis Alberto in order to get the squad toward the direction he needed. And in his first summer window, he brought in Grujic, Mane, Karius, Matip, Klavan and Wijnaldum, and 3 of these are undoubted successes. He bared his teeth, and this ruthless streak with transfers would continue. In 2016-17, we began to fully see the Klopp philosophy take place during his first full season, as he improved them in almost every area. The first thing he did was give his team a system which they could stick to, so each player would know exactly what their role was and reduce psychological uncertainty during matches.
There you go.
As a result, they performed better as a unit.
So he simplified the game for his players, which is very important. And of course, I like how he added in that kind of disclaimer that we didn't really see much of his own tactic take place in half a season. It's hard to do that, right? You're kind of getting to know the players. You're getting to know who you've got and what they can do, and so which has led to him sacking 5 people. That's a big turnaround in the first team. That is wild to get rid of half your team like that. But it looks like it worked out for him in the end. But you kind of see this idea of like, okay, obviously what has been done in the club was not working. some of the players that stayed, that he kept, are likely scarred by the fact that they either had to play out of position or they were always psychologically in trouble because they couldn't get their mind around the formation swapping and everything that the previous manager was putting them under. And so it looks like Klopp comes in and really simplifies the game for them and gives them a role and says, this is exactly what I want you to do, and this is how you can benefit the team. And so what you do in that, though, is you allow for good chemistry because everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. They're able to function better as a team, and they're able to play better as a unit, and they don't depend on just one person to do all the work. When you give everybody a specific role and tell them, hey, your role matters this much to the game, and if you don't do your job right, then we're going to lose games. But if you do your job right, we're going to win. You take all the pressure off of just one guy and you spread it out to the entire team. Even your back four, like if you're still running the 4-3-3, which I think he did. That's what I'm seeing here on the screen here. So even if you're running the 4-3-3, even your back four, hey, you guys matter just as much as the strikers up front. If you guys are not doing your job on the defensive side, we're not going to win games. So he's giving them roles and opportunities to show their worth on the field and to actually play better as a unit. This is really cool.
And they were therefore less reliant on individual brilliance. They played a 4-3-3 in 35 of their 38 games, in contrast to the chopping and changes of Rodgers. And Klopp brought his gegenpress into the fore in this season. They finished fourth, but accumulated many more points than Rodgers' last full season. But the important thing was the undoubted improvement from Rodgers' last season, as Klopp brought in his fluid attacking play. They had more possession, more goals for, less goals against, more shots for, and less shots against, which tells this statistical tale. They even got into better attacking positions, with more crosses for, whilst reducing the crosses against. However, Klopp's team was not quite where he needed it to be. They outperformed their XG and their expected goals conceded, which was the second most in the top 6, meaning that in actuality, the expected points had them to finish at 5th instead of 4th. This would have been an indicator to Klopp that the job was far from done and they had to improve. And that's exactly what Klopp did heading into the next season, starting with his transfers. Klopp began to trim down the squad to suit his vision, getting rid of Wisdom, Lever, Stewart and Sakho. In came Salah, Solanke, Robertson and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, 3 of whom were undoubted successes. With the team now accustomed to the 4-3-3, Klopp began to introduce variations to the team's tactics. They still played with a high-tempo pressing game, with primarily a back 4. However, the front 6 could alter their shape. Depending on the game, they could be a 4-3-3 to stretch defenses, a 4-2-3-1 to keep possession, or even a 4-4-2 to isolate the centre-backs. In this season, he began to convert Salah from an out-and-out winger.
Let's pause right there. So it looks like he was giving them a lot of freedom too to move around, especially in that front 6. So giving your team the fluidity, allowing them you tell them, okay, hey, we're running the base 4-3-3, so everybody is on the same page, but based on how the game is going, who they're playing, what needs to be done, you're allowing the team to move around and have some fluidity. One, that allows for playmakers to get out and get the job done, but two, what it really does is it begins to mess up other teams as well, because if they're used to you playing the 4-3-3 and then all of a sudden, middle of the game, you start switching formations and you're running something as crazy as a 4-4. I don't even know. There was a lot of formation switching going on there. It threw me off. So to be able to do that to a team mid-game could really mess them up as well defensively. And so I think that it allows for a better opportunity for players to make plays and for really the brilliance of each player to shine in that moment. So hats off to him for being able to do that, being able to recognize that, and being able to implement that. That's so cool.
An inside forward or even a striker. And again, Klopp improved their underlying numbers from the previous season, trending up in goals scored, possession, crosses for, whilst reducing goals.
I'm going to leave those stats up. Look at that stat spread from the 14-15 season to the 17-18 season, and just how different that is. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane.
Conceded and shots conceded. Big factors for this change were the form of Salah, who outperformed his XG by 7 goals, and Van Dijk joining by the midway point to assist the team defensively. In the league, they may have finished 4th, but the expected points had them finishing 2nd. The drop-off may have occurred as they chose to focus on the Champions League towards the second half of the season. He had the team playing his way, and they bulldozed their way to the final, with Van Dijk providing newfound solidity at the base of defense. They eventually lost to Madrid in the final, and many wondered if their best time had passed them by. Klopp, however, was determined for that not to be the case. He sold Coutinho and Emre Can, who were the biggest losses, but he also trimmed the fat of the squad, getting rid of Ward, Flanagan and Klavan, displaying a ruthless streak. His inbound transfers were Van Dijk, Fabinho, Keita, Shaqiri and Alisson, whilst Alexander-Arnold became crucial. Every transfer strengthened the team and the squad, and the Klopp ideology was...
This man was ruthless in the transfer window. My gosh. There's a clear message out there for anybody coming into this club during this time of if you can't play and benefit the team, you best believe, as this guy said, we're going to trim the fat, we're going to get rid of you. And so, I would say that this kind of aggressiveness can have its pluses. Like if you're winning games and you're this aggressive in the transfer window, then absolutely all day. If you're this aggressive in the transfer window and you can't win games, I think it's going to backfire on you greatly because the players are going to have disunity because they're not winning, and so they're like, why are we even bringing these new guys in? The people in the front office above the manager are going to begin to question. But for Klopp's case here, he's winning games as he brings these guys in, and it's like every time that he brings in new transfers in the transfer window, more and more of the people that he's bringing in are actually working out for him. So this is really cool.
Are firmly in place. And the major change in this season, aside from the personnel, was tactical and psychological. Klopp realized that the team would need more dynamic flexibility with their tactics in order to challenge Europe's biggest teams. He still primarily used a 4-3-3, but often Firmino would drop deeper and the wingers would...
Yeah, because you can't be too married. So the benefit of having that base package understood by all players is that everybody knows where you're starting. At the same time, though, you have to be able to play teams like Man City and things like that, Barcelona, as it just showed earlier. You have to be able to play the greatest teams out there. And if you know deep down that you don't have that same level of talent that these cats can go out and grab, then you know for a fact that, okay, if we don't have that kind of talent, we can at least still play the game really well. We may not have the shining stars, that they have, but at the same time, we can still have a chance to beat these guys if we're flexible with our tactics. So that's really good that he recognized that, and it sounds like he's getting the players to believe in the vision that he's selling them. That's a big deal for a manager or a coach, as we would say over here, to get your players to believe in what you're selling them and what you're telling them is a great deal. And so hats off to him for being able to do this. This is great management at its finest, as I'm seeing.
Cut in, making it look like a 4-4-2 diamond. So the wingers were really only wingers on paper, meaning that it was actually a 4-4-2. In addition, now Mane was able to play up front, making it hard for the defenders to keep a track of which one of the front three was the biggest danger. In this season, Klopp also used more runners from midfield to overload the box, as their attempted crosses went up, with Robertson and Alexander-Arnold providing the service, which allowed Mane and Salah a lot more central. This resulted in them getting 97 points, and although they did outperform their expected points due to a defense led by Alisson and Van Dijk conceding 7 less goals than expected, whilst their clinical forwards scored 10 extra goals. It has been their best season on paper since Klopp took over, as their possession went up and their home record was strengthened. Their goals scored was up and goals conceded was lower every season under Klopp. And this defensive solidity was shown as opponents got in less attacking positions against Liverpool, with the opponents' attempted crosses going down. In this season, in a bid to keep his team at the peak the whole season, he has actually reduced the amount of pressing the team does. In fact, while they're able to press when needed, the team now has the intelligence to tactically choose when to press and when to drop back. This has resulted in Liverpool having their highest possession stats of the past 5 years. He has also improved the psychological...
That's cool because he's implemented that press for so long in these formations for so long, and the players that have stayed, that didn't get trimmed, right? The guys who have stayed through the transfer windows have now begun to buy into this psychological and tactical approach that Klopp has taken. And man, it's so cool to see like somebody who's able to be there for, I guess it's 3.5 seasons now for him at this point, be able to sell that to the players and to have them be able to buy into that and to play so well under him is so cool.
Element by getting them to function as a team rather than individuals, making them greater than the sum of their parts.
Which is what you need.
As Klopp said, tactical things are so important, and you can't win without the tactical things, but the emotion is what makes the difference. So in summary, Klopp has gotten Liverpool to this position by improving the personnel and having over 11 players perfectly suited to his system, improving their general style of play by increasing distance covered, shots for, and goals, whilst reducing the opponent's attacking threat, and also by improving the mentality of the team. So, will all these improvements be enough to see them become champions of Europe? Well,
all right, well, will it be enough? Let's go see. This is the 2018-2019 season. Let's see. So Liverpool won the Champions League that year under Klopp's tactics and psychological balance. That is so cool to see. I love hearing that. I love seeing that everything played out well for them in the way that it was supposed to. That's one of the coolest things ever, to see a team actually succeed in an area like that under good management like that. Some aggressive management, especially in the transfer window. My gosh. But good management nonetheless. That's exciting to know. It's cool to learn some history of a team that I haven't really known that much about with Liverpool. So I look forward to seeing some Liverpool games now and really watching them take off and continue to do well under whatever leadership that they have now. I'm not sure if Klopp is still there, but if he is, I know that he's leading the team well. So hey, if you enjoyed this video, please like and comment, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what teams you want me to cover next, what era of the team you'd like for me to do. I'm trying to stick to the Premier League and maybe even La Liga and things like that. Some of the leagues that I'm actually familiar with, and then I'll branch out later as I understand those leagues more. So leave a comment below on who you think I should cover next. Subscribe to the channel and catch me in the next video. But until then, I'll see you guys later.